It is another wonderful time on television, and many thanks for joining us on this channel 22 on the ultra-high frequency band. My name is Evan Sunokugie. You're welcome to the program Africa Discourse. On this program, we look at various issues on the continent of Africa, political issues, economic issues, and of course, issues that we educate you as an African so that you know where you belong to as part of this continent. Well, today on the show, African Discourse, we are going to be looking at the 6 African leaders that are going to be in Moscow and Kiev sometime in this month of June and even in the month of July. And we're told that it's all about peace talk that, you know, that they are going to be concerned about. But little wonder, how come African leaders at this time? Of course, we all remember what has been going on between Volodymyr Putin, and also Zelensky now, the Ukrainian president, 2 world leaders that have decided to be at war. But it looks as if respite is coming their way now because we understand that Putin has decided to hearken to the voice of peace this time. And sometime in June this year, 6 African leaders are going to be meeting the Russian president and, of course, the Ukrainian president. Well, to look at all these issues today, we are so privileged to have 2 gentlemen here. First and foremost, join me to welcome Professor Victor Igbenedion, who is a professor of vocational and technical education with the University of Benin. So you're welcome to this program, African Discourse.
Very much. Thank you very much.
And of course, the renowned Syria author, conflict resolution expert, Nowita Igbotako, always here on this show. Mr. Nowita, you're welcome to this program.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Yes, African Discourse. All right, so viewers out there, you're welcome one more time. So gentlemen, when we hear that 6 African leaders are going to be in Moscow, let's look at the issues between the 2 warring leaders, Volodymyr Putin and of course Zelensky. It becomes very suspicious. What are they going to be talking about? What is the main aim? What is their attention? What are they seeking for? Let me hear from you, Professor Victor.
Okay. The essential thing they want to go for is peace. Yeah. They want to broker peace between Russia and Ukraine. But as far as I'm concerned, it's like a child's play to me. When you want to mediate peace between superpowers, Russia, Ukraine, very advanced countries, and here we are in Africa, South Africa leading the pack with Egypt and Senegal and some other countries like that. People who have not even been able to put their house in order, they are going to an advanced country to negotiate peace between 2 countries that are very advanced. To me, it's a little bit suspicious. I doubt whether their move can be very impactful, much as it is a move for mediation for peace. The United Nations have been there all along, and they have been trying their best to see that peace is brokered between these 2 countries. But not much success had been achieved. I want to leave it there so that my colleague will...
Nowita Igbotako, you are the conflict resolution expert here, and we've talked about the war between Ukraine and Russia. Now, it is a little bit circumspective to see that 6 leaders in Africa want to be in Moscow to decide the fate of these 2 warlords. What is going on?
Well, what is going on, as far as I'm concerned, is that, just as Prof has said, ultimately, they want to broker peace because what is happening in Europe is a fragile situation. Humanitarian problems. In fact, after Second World War, the war has never been faced with kind of humanitarian crisis that is besieging Europe now. So everybody is concerned. 6 African leaders are concerned. So it's a welcome development. But looking at the giants, looking at the superpowers, looking at the power at play at the United Nations, at international relations, you know, they do have the leverage. Cyril Ramaphosa, South Africa, Macky Sall, Senegal, and the rest guys, they are not, they are paperweight economically, technologically, militarily. In terms of weapons, do they have nuclear weapons? Because these are the determinant factors in mediating crisis at that scale. The Ukraine, Russia crisis is a crisis on the magnitude that such African leaders cannot achieve anything meaningful. And let's be very clear, one of the main reasons they are going to this dialogue, as a conflict resolution practitioner, dialogue is the ultimate. You must employ a mechanism of, fair play, to get what you want, dialogue and all that. But the main thing, looking at the setup, is economic issues. You will agree with me that wheat is an issue. Ukraine, is the major supplier of wheat in the whole world. And the Ukrainian-Russian crisis has led to shortage of supply of wheat around it globally. So I think they are going there to see how, if possible, the crisis can end easily, so that they can have usually wheat that comes to them. But United Nations is involved. Antonio Guterres, Secretary General of the United Nations, has been talking that whoever wants to broker any peace without the international instruments of resolving conflict, international law and all that it will not work.
Okay. All right. So let me come to Professor Victor Igbenedion. Now, these 6 leaders, we have the South African president, who is one of the major initiators of the peace talk now, Cyril Ramaphosa. And of course, we've got the president of the Republic of Congo. The Egyptian president is also there, Senegalese president, the Zambia president, and the Ugandan president. These are the 6, world leaders that are, going to Kiev and Moscow to mediate between Ukraine and Russia. Now, they may not be war leaders, but they are political survivors. Cyril Ramaphosa is also a lord in his own right, only that he may not have been involved in any major war between nations and all that. But let's look at their might now. Let's see their political might. Don't we think that this may also be very significant as they try to bring peace between Russia and Ukraine?
There is no doubt that the move is a very significant one.
Yeah, it's good. It's a good one.
Coming from the background that is coming from Africa, as a friend has said here, but they are political paperweights.
Yeah.
It's as if we don't know how the world looks at Africa. We may look at ourselves and overrate ourselves, but we are dependent on these world leaders.
That's true.
So what are you going to bring to the table that is new, that will say, okay, no. All the, as he said, all the United Nations, the Guterres has said, there is no peace that can be brokered without the instruments of the United Nations. You have to put them in place. And I want to align with him also that why are these African leaders going? They want to make a statement, but above all, is for their stomach infrastructure for those countries, so to speak. This wheat is a very serious business.
It is.
And Ukraine is the one supplying
the major supplier
of
the
wheat,
world.
The world.
Yeah.
And so you can see that the wheat all over, even in Nigeria, is a problem. The price of bread has shot up. And other African countries, they are highly dependent on this wheat for a lot of things. And so they want to see how much the matter will be settled so that they can be receiving wheat. But the question is that, can we not grow wheat
back home
here? That is just the problem. It's like Nigeria. you have crude oil, you take it outside, you carry it back and punish the people at exorbitant rate. So, and the soil is there. Technology you can import to make sure that this wheat grows luxuriantly in this country. But the leaders will not do anything. They will continue to import and import and import. Okay, for example, in Nigeria, where are we? You ban rice. You say you have pyramids of rice in the north and all those things.
It's expensive.
What we are faced with is the foreign rice that we are still buying all over the place. So the bottom line is that it is when you are comfortable at home. It's like having a man without wife to go and settle a married issue. That's what I liken the situation to. They have not, they don't have the wherewithal to go to that place, even with the best of intention. These people, there's a way they look at us.
Well, there are issues that the 6 African leaders are going to be bringing forward. Now, we understand that it is Russia that is notorious here, notorious in the sense that they seem to be the troublemaker now. Because it is Russia that is stopping Ukraine from honoring the pact that Ukraine signed with almost all nations of the world, supplying grains, wheat, and all that. And of course, we understand that it is the same Russia now that has been blocking Ukraine from going, doing business with other parts of the world. Now, don't you think because one would have thought that it would have probably been a matter of these African nations now calling Russia to order that, hey, we have a pact that we signed with Ukraine. Why stopping? Professor Igbenedion, you laughed. I would say that it is not possible for this. You can't, please.
How can you stop a dictator par excellence? How can you stop a man who is overambitious? A man who want to create a new empire of what we used to know as Soviet Union Empire.
That's Putin now.
Putin.
Yeah.
Putin was mad when Gorbachev killed the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics in 1991, January 1991. Putin was mad. He was in the KGB. He's a spy. He's an intelligent officer. He never forget Gorbachev. When Gorbachev died, Gorbachev was supposed to be given a state burial. He caught the fanfare somehow. A day before the Gorbachev would be laid, in Kremlin. He went a day before. That to show that even in death, he never forgave Mikhail Gorbachev. You understand? So a man with that kind of, I went that far so that listeners will know what we are talking about.
Yeah.
A man of Putin's,
caliber,
bloody background. It's a despot. It's a man who wants to reinvent the glory that belonged to the Soviet Union before. And you want to tell me 6 African leaders can talk to that kind of a human being? A man China could not bend. We know the role China has been playing in this game. Till tomorrow, China has not been able to blame Putin for his misadventure in Ukraine. China has been playing diplomatic game because they have this alliance. I call it evil alliance between Benji and Moscow. And let us not forget easily, Cyril Ramaphosa of South Africa has been a friend of Putin. They are in the best relations. And, given the history of South Africa, the apartheid madness and all that, we know the role played by the Soviet Union, to at least, they were the ones supplying, those freedom fighters, weapons and the rest. So they never forgot what the Soviet Union did for them. That's why successive South African government are always, that relationship is perfect. So Ramaphosa has a perfect relationship with Vladimir Putin. But I don't see how Ramaphosa, because he's the one leading this group, I I don't see Ramaphosa or is this guy in Egypt. What is that his name? Is he the one that want to talk Putin out of his madness? Putin is mad. Putin he has caused more harm to the peace of the world.
Yeah, but let us be careful with the way we say that now, because Putin agreed. He agreed for the peace talk initiative.
But I'm seeing beyond what will happen in Kyiv or in Moscow. Quote me. I don't see, just as Prof has said, any significant
outcome.
Because when Putin, that what is this guy in China? What is his name? He's a dictator now. He has
Xi Jinping.
Xi Jinping has even restructured the architecture of power. He's not a dictator. In China, the Chinese dictator cannot talk Putin out of Ukraine.
Okay.
These African leaders, no, just as Prophet said, is stomach infrastructure. They want to be seen, to be recorded in history. That once upon a time, 6 African leaders went to Kyiv and Moscow to try and broker peace. But for me, given the because you have to look at the character of Putin. Putin is a mad despot.
Okay. Now, as we go on this talk this afternoon, gentlemen, we are going to be looking at if really they just want to be part of history, or really that they are suffering from the effects of the war between Ukraine and Russia. Now, Professor Victor, now let us look at, a while ago we talked about there's no way we can actually achieve a meaningful resolution without the instrumentality of the United Nations now. Now, which instrumentality are we referring to now? Is it because none of these 6 African nations are not part of the Security Council of the UN, or the fact that there's no way you can try to resolve a crisis that the UN has initiated to resolve? Only 6 African nations going to do that. What is the security? What is the instrumentality of the United Nations we're talking about now?
I'm not saying that it's impossible for them to resolve. God could use them to do something. No, we always
do have veto powers. Veto powers are an issue.
They don't belong to Security Council. They're not there. They are of no significant. They are not in a significant position in the United Nations to be able to do anything significant in this conflict. So, how? If they approach the United Nations and they want to be part of the team that will negotiate the peace conflict for a resolution, that will be all right. But to me, 6 African countries
going on their own,
they are just an infinitesimal, decimal in the whole equation of.
We cannot also say so, gentlemen. Remember a while ago, we said that Cyril Ramaphosa of South Africa has been fingered many times to have been supplying Russia weapons in this ongoing conflict between Russia and Ukraine. So if that has been the case, don't you think that South Africa is a force to reckon with?
It's not. You cannot leverage on that. He's the one supplying arms.
So the suspicion now, the allegation.
And what arms is South Africa producing that can make an impact on the war? Don't forget that Russia is a world power.
Superpower.
Yes, and they have even threatened that they can use nuclear weapons on this Ukraine. So, except they are using them as a conduit. They are using South Africa as a conduit.
As a conduit, yeah,
yes.
You are correct.
What can they produce? What will South Africa produce that will make the difference in what the armament that Russia has?
Okay. Now, Nowita Butako, you are the conflict resolution expert here. Now, there's no doubt that conditions are going to be reached and met if, we are to really settle the ongoing situation in Russia and Ukraine. So what kind of conditions do you think that these six African leaders are going to be looking at now? I mean, if at the end of the day, Russia now says that, okay, for us to step down from bombarding Ukraine, these are the conditions. What are the conditions? Are we looking at the possibility of these 6 African leaders yielding to...
From day one, Putin has not shifted ground. Putin has been saying that he wants to take over Ukraine. That Ukraine is a threat.
It's a spy.
It's a mortal threat to Moscow. He has been saying it. And he has been saying that, and because of his ambition, he wanted to be a Superman, so to say. He wanted to play a role that somebody like Nikita Khrushchev. Khrushchev was another mad Soviet leader. Soviet went to the United Nations in 1964, and when they were arguing the United Nations Security Council, Nikita Khrushchev put his foot on the table. That is telling you the might of they intoxicate them.
Yes.
The veto power intoxicates them. So we're not talking about South Africa. That's why doesn't have veto power in the United Nations to say to her with other countries. Even countries that have superpowers, Putin is not talking to them. To me, Ramaphosa is like a boy tied to the apron springs of Vladimir Putin. It's on a jamboree to say historically student of international relations, war student, they will be recorded. That once upon a time, Ramaphosa led a delegation to Moscow and settle. They don't have the wherewithal.
Okay.
Because, and the Putin, the man, the only country, look at international relations. Because international relations is about permanent interest, and there's no permanent interest or
no permanent enemy.
No permanent friend, but permanent interest. About permanent interest.
Yeah.
The present interest now, the only country that could say, okay, let's cough or let's sneeze, so that we catch somebody in Kremlin. Yes. It's China.
Okay. All right, gentlemen. Let's take a short pause here. Let's take a short pause here so that we quickly go for a break now. Now, viewers out there, don't forget that we are looking at the 6 African nations that are going to be going to Moscow and Kiev this June and sometime in July too, to try to mediate between Russia and, of course, Ukraine. We understand that South Africa is there, where we have Cyril Ramaphosa, the South African president, leading the delegation. We also have the president of the Republic of Congo, Egyptian president, the Senegalese president, the Zambian president, and, of course, the Ugandan president. Now, gentlemen, when we return, and viewers out there, when we return, we are going to be looking at the implication of this seeming inability, just like what our guests are saying here, that is an effort in futility. What is the implication for us in Africa as a continent? How come when we cough, that other nations of the world
they don't catch cold.
All right, so when we return back, we're going to be looking at all that. You stay tuned. All right, thank you so much. Here the program still African Discourse on Independent Television. Now, we're still looking at the 6 African leaders, 6 African nations that are going to be in Moscow and, of course, Kiev this June and the early part of July, trying to mediate between Russia and Ukraine in the ongoing war in these 2 nations. Now, we have tried to look at the possibility of these 6 African nations bringing the war to bear. And what my analysts are saying here is that there isn't much, effect, so to say, that is going to be noticed. Now, the question, gentlemen, I'll start with Nowita Igbutako. Now, if we're of the opinion that these 6 African nations may not bring the desired resolution that we're talking about now. Now, what is the implication for us as a continent in Africa? Our 6 leaders, going to Moscow, and of course, at the end of the day, they cannot bring, to bear a desired resolution. What is the implication?
The implication is very clear. This is to tell African leaders to put their home in order. Africa is in disarray. The leaders of Africa, they are not sincere. They should put their home in order. Okay, for instance, before I progress, look at the oil subsidy thing in Nigeria. Is that not insanity. You pick oil from Nigeria, you carry it to Europe or America to go and refine. You bring it back. That is subsidy. That's the money they are using. They are saying about subsidy. The cost of taking Nigeria oil to Europe to be refined or America and bring it back to Nigeria. That's the money now. Is that not madness? They are now making all of us to be people are running scatter. Inflation in the country, poverty is overwhelming people. Dangote cement, Dangote refinery. We heard that. I'm sorry, I'm not debating, but because you say these are the implications. Because African leaders, they should put their hands together. They should develop Africa. They should make Africa comfortable for Africans. This country, for crying out loud, this continent is endowed. There's nothing we don't have in Africa. Why no African leaders develop Africa? Why African leaders call the blunt, dead the West and the East, and face Africa? Because the Europe and America, they need African resources, the African raw materials to develop what they want to do. The new thing coming up is electric cars. The raw material is in Democratic Republic of Congo. Can't we develop Africa? Can't, for instance, Nigeria build refinery to refine our oil? Can't Nigerian government build Nigerian refinery for Nigerians? Must it be an individual who is part of a cartel? I'm speaking because I know what I'm talking about. I'm a regular columnist. We know what is happening around the world. Can't Nigerian government build refineries that will work? Must we wait for a Dangote before you build refineries? It's crazy to see that we are not sincere with ourselves. Can't Cyril Ramaphosa, Macky Sall, and the other guys in Egypt, and the other guy in Senegal, in
Uganda,
Zambia.
Yeah.
Can't they cultivate the grains in Africa? Can't they patronize African leaders, African countries that have oil? We talk about the energy crisis because two things that are making them to go: the energy crisis and the grain issue. So the implication is that Africans should wake up, that African leaders should wake up, and Africans should ensure that they elect responsible leaders. Leaders who can bring development. Leaders who will remember the people. Leaders who will make the natural resources of Africa to work. So that Africa can dictate to the West, to the superpowers.
Okay. Now
we are not dictating. If you talk about resources, we are on our knees, capping hands, go and beg. Ramaphosa cannot achieve anything. Ramaphosa is a ball, it's a toy. It's international circles.
Oh, let us be careful.
International circles. I say a Soviet leader, Nikita Khrushchev, in 1964. Okay, what Putin has done in Ukraine, he did not tantamount to what Khrushchev did in 1964. He said to hell with Ukraine, I will march through. And he marched in, but it's something that is happening. So this is a fact. You talk it's in the international circles, you talk of might. It's might.
All right, a good one to know that.
It's not English language, it's not how fluent you can speak.
Yeah.
It's what you have by, okay, when Zelensky, Ukraine, when the bombardment was becoming too much, raining on Ukraine, the man cried to the West. He said, give all air defense system. And the air defense system is not helping him now. Unlike before, when the war started, it was free fall.
Free bombardment.
People were weeping for Ukraine. But now, they have something to show. Okay. Do any of the African leaders have a defense system?
Okay.
Do they have anything they want to use to say, please, listen to us?
Okay. But I think we also need to give it to Nigerian government this time now. I mean, Nigeria is not part of the 6 African nations, so it goes to show that we don't have any pact with Ukraine to supply grains.
But it's affecting us too.
It's affecting us.
Look at the fertile line in Nigeria, for instance.
Yeah.
Nigeria is suffering the wheat issue. Look at the cost of bread. Bread we used to buy for our children at how much? Now you have to budget before you buy bread for your children.
But the question I want to ask, gentlemen, this fight now, I mean, for these 6 nations to be going to Moscow, do they really have to go? Is it really their fight? I mean, they have a pact with Ukraine. Don't we think it behoves on Ukraine to know how to go about the business, the business arrangement that they have with these 6 African nations. Is it a 6 African nations fight?
It's indirectly it's their fight because they have to survive.
Yeah, survivor.
Yes,
it's a matter
of survival.
Survivor.
You know, the increase in price of bread has led to overthrow.
Yeah.
Many times.
Many times.
In African capitals.
Most Africans.
In Sudan,
yes,
Japan, Mary, you remember? How many they don't drive? Sorry, how many they've driven from power because of bread?
Just let you, Uncle, yeah.
And yesterday I was listening to somebody who was saying that it is difficult for Africa to grow, to develop, because of the interests of the West. They make sure any attempt that they want to use to grow will be stultified.
Why?
Because they harness the resources in Africa for their own benefit.
Yes.
That is what is happening.
But if they harness the resources in Africa here, don't we think that should be the reason why, the more reason why they ought to help Africa to develop more? Because the resources are here.
If we develop,
we will
allow them to carry
like what is going on now. If you come back home to Nigeria, now even the grains, we also have it as issue here, as a problem here. You go to our market, rice, which is also part of grains now.
Yes.
Rice is sold at exorbitant rates. Now you ask the farmers, they will tell you that they can't go to the farms because of insecurity issues. Now, if we have these Western nations now trying to support Nigeria in this regard, don't you think it's going to help them, ultimately? Don't you think so?
Where will be their market? Where is going to be their market? Are you sure that even the headers are not supported by this international people?
The Boko Haram and all that?
Yes, they are under. Did you listen to Mustafa? That in that Sambisa forest, there are minerals that are very expensive.
They are there.
Even uranium is there.
California.
Yes, everything is
fantastic.
There. That a fist of it cost billions of dollars that they use to manufacture. So they make sure that they keep us where we are. And what does it take after you have removed all our resources and you are making millions, you are selling it all over the world? What does it take a black man? You give him maybe $50 million and he explodes.
He explodes.
He turns the other eye. So take as much as you are taking.
Okay. Now, a while ago, you said that this is perhaps a time for Africa and our leaders to look inward. Now, we've always talked about the issues on the continent of Africa, political issues, economic issues, and all that. Issues as it relates to our natural resources. Now, if we are going to start, where are we going to start from? Where should we start from, Nowita?
Where we should start from, because most of the present leaders in Africa, they are not people-oriented. Most leaders in Africa, is in Nigeria. Should we start Nigerian issue? We had an election the other day. It's the same game that is being played to our people. The man will become our president on the first day inaugural ceremony.
But let us not digress now.
I'm trying to because Nigeria is a microscopic Africa. In Africa.
Yeah.
That is what is available in Africa. That's what is available in look at these countries. Is it South Africa? Is Ramaphosa a fantastic president in South Africa? Do we dissect the guy, Ramaphosa? Was he not involved in a scandal the other day? Have you forgotten?
Yeah, but the National Assembly
corruption and all that
declared him at the end of the day.
But he used his might. He uses because he is the first billionaire to become South African president. For the South African leader, he made his money through the trade union. When the Mandela and Co were fighting gorilla, he was in the trade union. Ramaphosa made billions of naira. So when Ramaphosa was able to bulldoze his way in the parliament, he bought the South African parliament. The corruption claim was heavily against him. Is it Ramaphosa? Is it let's take them one by one. Is it Yoweri Museveni? Yoweri Museveni that came through the jungle. We thought, the Ugandans thought he was a messiah after the horror of Idi Amin and the rest. But the man has thought under Idi Amin. The man doesn't want to live there. He's the one manipulating the elections. Because where do you want to go? Is it Zambia? So where do we start from? We start from the electoral process.
Yeah.
That is where I'm going.
Okay. Now,
let African leaders, let African people to insist on free and fair election, level playing ground. Let the electoral laws be strengthened so that one monster from somewhere or in any government house cannot manipulate the electoral process.
Okay. Now, Professor Victor, political reformation, electoral reformation, or economic reformation for Africa, which one comes first?
It's political reformation.
Reformation.
You see, when the people are predominantly poor, it's very easy to manipulate them. And the resources that are meant for the people, they have been cornered by the very few.
Wow.
So it's like a carrot and stick method. You say, if you vote for me, I will give you. You know, we are complaining, oh, if you don't buy votes, don't do all those ones. How far has it been achieved?
Has it been achieved?
So when the people are hungry, they will buckle. So there's need for political enlightenment. That they say, yeah, eating your future. They give you one bag of gari. That's what you will eat for the next 4 years. Gradually, we begin to educate our people that these are ephemera. They are temporary things that they are giving to you. That the bigger picture is in the future. So you can starve a little today and make the difference. Again, it's also a cartel that is ruling us.
Yeah, it's a cartel, political cartel.
Okay, from one military to the other, from khaki to khaki, until quite recently, this one is not khaki. And so it's like that all over Africa, except South Africa, so to speak. But if you talk about Uganda, you talk about
DRC, Congo,
same manipulation of electoral
Senegal. They say, okay, you go there. After I will come. And they muzzle their way through to power. And how does this affect the economy? Important resources are wasted that are supposed to be used to train the people, to educate the people. When there is proper education of the people, change will definitely come. Because the people will not stomach all the things they are taking for now. And the education is stilted. It's not working. The education system in most African countries are not working.
What is responsible for that, Professor?
It's the economy. First of all, the government is not prepared to fund the education of the universities. See, those days we used to call it diploma disease. Everybody is running to the university. You want to get masters, you want to get PhD, this and that. My professor, my supervisor will call it education in frustration. Just to get an outlet to do something. When they are in the class, when they are really there, they are not interested in studying anything. Majority of them.
Are you saying this from your own experience?
Oh yes, now.
It's a prof.
I have produced over 19 PhD. So I know the attitude.
Of your students?
Yes, if they can buy their way through with you, oh fine. They will not learn anything. And I keep encouraging them. The learning curve, try to follow the learning curve.
The learning curve.
You want to short-circuit the learning curve. I say you have money, you want to give me money. So if you give me money, how does that help you? You now carry a certificate that is meaningless to you.
You cannot defend it.
So everybody is packing to school. I get master, I get this one. See what they write. See how they write. You will be amazed. And if you want to remain, if you want to stand on your own, that I want to mark it this way, you become an enemy to everybody.
That's the biggest question now, Professor. Now, if you as a lecturer, you see what they write and how they write it, what is the template of you passing them? How do you score
I'm
them?
a difficult person. I want to say it on set. I'm not the way you are seeing me here. So I'm highly condemned all over the place. Because I want it the way it's
The right thing to be done.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So as we make conclusions for this discussion this afternoon, now, just like what we said, that 6 African nations now, we have South Africa, Republic of Congo, Egypt, Senegal, Zambia, and Uganda. Now, Noguchi Igbutako, one international columnist the way you are now, columnist now, said that I think the DRC, Republic of Congo, does not have any business to be because the DRC is at war. I mean, it's a case of a nation, a country that cannot fix its home is going to settle. How do you react to this now?
You said you were saying that for me, they want to be recorded in history. So the student of international politics, student of history, once upon a time,
they mediated
in June 2023. These African leaders made a bold move to Kyiv and Moscow, seeking conflict resolution of the crisis in Ukraine, and because they don't have a muzzle. So as I said from the beginning, they are paperweight. You must be a tiger in international scene for your voice to be heard. Why is Putin still behaving the way he's behaving? Because it's a veto power. Why Jinping in China? Why is he supporting Putin? Because of a common interest. It's a superpower. Britain is a superpower. France is a superpower. And other countries in Europe. So, and they don't listen. They want to do their thing. So none of this is for Africans. And I want to quickly say it. I want to challenge African people to follow the footsteps of Nigeria. Nigeria is going somewhere. Now we are the nick in the thick and thin of reforming our electoral process. Via the last general elections. You know, we were expecting bypass, championship of results and all that, but the powers that be, they did that thing. But that thing will come to stay. Quote what I'm going to say. It's going to come in a time in this country where you cannot manipulate the electoral process again. Because we insist that the proper clauses are put in place so that we can have free and fair elections. And if we have free and fair elections, that's where we can throw up progressive leaders who can dare Western powers, people like Mulumba, people like Kwame Nkrumah, people like name them, who can dare the West, say, where are the resources? You cannot come and do what you like in Africa. We don't have solid leaders now.
No.
A Gaddafi that wanted to do something, it was flushed down. Muammar Gaddafi.
And look at the trouble.
Look at the trouble. Look at the trauma. Look at the tragedy. Look at the madness happening in Libya. So it's for African leaders, African country, to tell Nigeria, because Nigeria will get it. Electoral process, get it sanitized, so that the good people can come on board, so that they can do good things and dare the West. We have everything here.
All right, so Professor, 30 seconds as we wrap up. What are your last words on the show?
I have hope that we will get there sometime. But we must put machinery in motion to be able to get there by proper education.
Yes.
Our people must be properly educated. It's only then they can see the wider picture of what they are missing by taking peanuts today and forgoing their tomorrow, their future.
Okay. All right. I want to say a very big thank you to the two gentlemen here. Professor Victor Igbenedion is a professor of vocational and technical education at University of Benin, and Noguchi Igbutako is a serial author, and of course an international conflict resolution expert. We've been talking about the 6 African leaders that they're going to be going to Moscow, Kiev sometime this year in June and in July to mediate between Russia and Ukraine. So we just hope and pray that at the end of the day, they'll be able to bring their might to bear, even if we are trying to say that they are paper, they are lightweight. Let's keep our fingers crossed, gentlemen. You can never tell. No one knows. Maybe at the end of the day, they'll be able to sound a very sound warning to Vladimir Putin. All right, so gentlemen, I want to say a very big thank you for coming on this show today.
It's a pleasure.
Next week, at the same time, is going to be another edition of the same program, African Discourse. My name is Evan Sunokuge. Goodbye and God bless you.